I think it's important that you have crystal clear protocols. I know the word's policy, but I hate that word, to run your office. You know, I wrote a book, my first book ever, 20 years ago, called The Protocol Book, What to Do When. And I wrote that book, I guess I had more energy at that time in my life, because it took a long time and a lot of energy. I wrote it because I was so tired of great weeks, bad weeks, followed by a bad week. Or the front desk area performed amazing one week, but the clinic was off, and back and forth and back and forth. And that happened to me long enough that I realized that I needed a clear path that everybody knew what we stood for, no matter what it was. You know, a patient that you schedule first thing in the morning for hygiene, there was a protocol for that, because when that patient breaks that appointment, you can't fill it, right? 8 o'clock, you walk in. That happens to all of us. I'm going to give you a little tip here. It's 99% of the time a patient that broke an appointment before. That wasn't their first break. So you can never put an opening hygiene appointment that has a broken track record to start your day. Because if a patient breaks once, they'll break twice, guarantee it. So you have to put a patient in that spot that never breaks, that you all have them. And that's hard when you're starting out your practice early, but that's the protocol book had stuff like that in it. What about a temporary crown's off? Where do you see that patient? Et cetera. So why am I telling you all this? Because the patient in the other room that I just saw had a crown done. Nothing big, a single crown done by one of my associates, who's an amazing associate. And she was about to leave our practice. This is a lady that between her and her husband has probably spent $40K, and are great patients, by the way. Not just spend $40K. They're pleasant. They're that patient everybody wants. You know what I'm talking about. And I said, what's going on? And the only reason I saw her is because she came in on the following week when my associate who provided that care wasn't here. He did nothing wrong. He does beautiful work. But I said to her, so I'm adjusting her occlusion because her occlusion on her temporary was off. And she said, I said, well, you know, why didn't I do this? Because I knew we had a connection. She says, I asked for you, they wouldn't give me to you. They said I couldn't have you. So you have to have, it's your responsibility to make it crystal clear what goes on in your own office, you know? And so my protocol for that, if when a patient asks for me, when they ask for, I want Dr. Rasner, they get them. I don't care what it is that we're doing. Even a filling, which I don't really enjoy doing at this stage in my career, of a patient, and that has been it doesn't have to be your protocol. That's in my protocol book, it's me. I think you have a responsibility that if a patient wants you, the doctor, you know, and unless you don't want to work on that patient because he's mean or something, and we don't treat patients like that anyway. So that's not even a thing that would happen. So that's the story, and that's protocol. And by the way I handled it is I said, how about if I put the crown in for you, for my associate? He does beautiful work. I'll put it in. And the next procedure that she had another crown to do, I'll do it. And that's what I'm doing today. You know, so it's not a big deal. I do all-ons. I do pretty advanced surgeries. I also do everyday dentistry.